Ladies and gentlemen, in this video, we're talking about how do you convert from point slope form to slope intercept form. And before we actually get into the lesson, my cat Bob wanted to say hello. Never mind. And without further ado, let's get into the lesson.
My phone maybe 3 years back, and I don't have an address. It's a matter of fact, but I guess you tried to drop me a line.
Now, in case you're not 100% on the two forms that we're talking about, I just wrote down both of the equations for them on the right-hand side here. So point slope form is y minus y1 equals m on the outside of parentheses x minus x1. And then slope intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So we're going to go from point slope form to slope intercept form. So let's take a look at number one. We have y minus 3 is equal to 2 on the outside, and then x minus 4 on the inside. And this equation is set up just like point slope form looks like. And I want to break this equation down a little bit so it makes more sense, and then we'll do the conversion rate after, which is very, very easy. So let's write down the point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m on the outside, x minus x1. So the line that we're dealing with here has a slope of 2. And you should know by now the variable that represents slope is the letter m, and 2 is sitting in that spot where m is. So that means that the line that we're dealing with is inclining in the positive direction from left to right. And then we also want to hone in on x1 and y1. This is an ordered pair that this line should be running through. So x1 has a 4 sitting in its spot, and y1 has a 3 sitting in its spot. So we know that the slope is 2, and that this line is going to be running through the ordered pair of 4, 3 at some point. So I just wanted to break that down a little bit so it makes more sense. Now let's go ahead and convert this to slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. And the first step to doing that is we are going to be distributing the slope, or the m, in this case the number 2. So let's go ahead and distribute the 2 to every term that's on the inside. So 2 times x, and then 2 times a negative 4. We're going to leave the left side of the equation completely alone. We're not distributing anything on the left side. So y minus 3 is just going to be brought down, equals 2 times x. A lot of students overthink this. 2 times x is literally just 2x. So I'm just going to bring down a 2x. And then 2 times negative 4 is a negative 8 or a minus 8. And then step 2 is we want to isolate the variable y by itself, because if you look at slope-intercept form, it has y by itself on the left side of the equation. So we have to get rid of that minus 3. Well, how do you get rid of subtracting by 3? What is the opposite or the inverse of subtraction? Well, that's adding by 3. So let's go ahead and add 3 over here. But whatever we do to one side of our equation, we want to make sure we do the other. So we're going to add 3 over here. So these are opposites. These are going to cancel. We get y isolated all by itself. The 2x we did nothing with. And then that negative 8 plus 3 is going to give us a minus 5. And now this looks exactly like slope-intercept form. It's y equals mx plus b. We have 2 sitting in the m spot, which is our slope, which we knew already from point slope form. And then b is our y-intercept, or where this line is crossing the y-axis, and it's crossing at negative 5. So that's number 1 done. Let's go ahead and make our way over to number 2. So I'm going to get rid of this just so we have some space here. And now number 2, again, set up like point slope form. We want to distribute our slope right off the bat. So negative 3 is going to be distributed to x and negative 2. Y plus 5 is just going to be brought down here, equals negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 2 is a positive 6. And then we want to isolate y, so let's get rid of plus 5 and subtract 5 on both sides. Opposites cancel. We get y equals negative 3x brought down, very similar to how 2x was just brought down. And then plus 6 minus 5 is going to give us a positive 1. And that positive 1, again, is telling us where that line is crossing the y-axis at positive 1. So now let's go ahead and make our way down to number 3. You're going to notice this is going to be a little bit more challenging because I recognize that there's an improper fraction where the slope is. So I'm just going to erase the top part here. That way we can actually show the distributing arrows. I always have my students draw that because I feel like they distribute it to just one term and not both terms sometimes. So I always just do that just to be safe. So this was y equals 2x minus 5. I really hope I did that right. Let me just double check real quick. 2x. Okay, I think that's good. All right, let's show our distributing arrows. Y minus 6 is brought down. We didn't touch that. Equals negative 5 halves times x. Again, it's just negative 5 halves x. And then we have negative 5 halves times 4, and this is where students arguably lose their mind. And it's very, very simple. So I'm just going to write this problem over here on the side. We have negative 5 halves times, and this is a positive 4, but the only problem is this is not a fraction, and we want to make it into a fraction. And a lot of students overthink this. How can I not change the value of 4 and still make it into a fraction and keep the value of 4? Well, if you simply put it over 1, what is 4 divided by 1? Don't you agree it still gives you 4 back? That's as easy as it is. You can put any number over 1 and make it into a fraction, and you're good to go. So let's go ahead and multiply these. First, I check to see the numbers that are diagonal from each other and see if there's any simplifying that could take place. It makes life a little bit easier, especially if you're dealing with larger numbers. But I see 2 and 4 are both divisible by 2. So 2 divided by 2, we're going to get 1 here. And 4 divided by 2, we get 2. 5 and 1, the largest number they're both divisible by is 1, so we can't do anything with that. Now let's go ahead and multiply. So we're going to multiply our numerators together. So 5 times 2 is going to give us 10 in our numerator. And then 1 times 1, very, very tough problem in our denominator, is 1. Now, the only thing that students typically mess up is you have a negative fraction times a positive fraction. Well, a negative times a positive is not a positive result, but it is a negative result. So this is going to be minus 10. We don't have to worry about putting 10 over 1 because 10 divided by 1 is still 10. So I'm going to get rid of all that work there. And now we need to isolate y and get it by itself. So let's go ahead and add 6 to both sides. Cancels, cancels, and we get y equals negative 5 halves x. And this is negative 10 plus 6. That's going to give us a minus 4 for our final answer in slope-intercept form for number 3. And then let's move over to the last problem before I give you 4 problems to try out on your own to see if you can do the conversions on your own. So let's go ahead and distribute. So distribute negative 7/3 to both terms. Bring down the y plus 8. Negative 7/3 times x is just negative 7/3 x. And then again, we run into this scenario. So let's do the math down here. This is negative 7/3 times negative 11 over 1. Again, putting it over 1 doesn't change the value of it. We'll check diagonally, see if we can simplify anything, and we can't this time, which means we just have to multiply the way it is. So this equals 7 times 11 is 77. 3 times 1 is 3. We have a negative times a negative. That's going to give us a positive result. So this is going to be plus 77 over 3. And sometimes you can get a problem that does this, where you have an improper fraction being added here. So don't freak out because that happens. It's very, very simple as long as you know your fraction rules. So let's get rid of that work. And now let's isolate y and get it by itself, which means we need to subtract 8 on both sides. 8's cancel. Y is now by itself. The negative 7/3 x is brought down, but we still have to do one more thing, which is 77/3 minus 8. And now this is where truly students lose their mind. Sometimes they forget the adding and subtracting rules. It's not as easy as multiplying where you just put it over 1. Remember, you can't add or subtract fractions unless they have a common denominator. So this is going to be 77 over 3 minus, and this fraction is going to have 3 on the bottom, and it's going to have the value of negative 8. So we don't want to change the value of this at all. So what number can be divided by 3 that's going to give you 8 back? And the number that's going to work here is 24. 24 divided by 3 is going to give you 8. They have the same denominator, so now we can go ahead and subtract this. Now remember, your denominator stays the exact same. The only thing that we're doing is subtracting our top numbers or our numerators. So this is going to be 77 minus 24. So we're going to end up getting a plus 53 over 3 for our final answer in slope-intercept form when we do that subtraction. Now let's make our way over to the practice session where you can try out 4 problems on your own from converting point-slope form to slope-intercept form. Now it's time for the practice session. I encourage you to pause the video here, see if you convert all of these problems that are in point-slope form to slope-intercept form, and we think you're ready to go play the video and see how you did. So I'm assuming at this point you've tried out all 4 of these and you're ready to go over the answers. So let's go ahead and jump into number 1. Very first thing that we're doing is we're distributing the slope. So let's distribute 5 to both terms. Y minus 9 is going to be brought down. Equals 5 times x is just 5x. 5 times a positive 1 is plus 5. Now we need to isolate y. So let's go ahead and add 9 to both sides. Opposites cancel. And we should get y equals 5x plus 14 for our final answer in slope-intercept form. So if you got one right, very, very nice job. And now let's make our way over to number 2. Let's distribute our negative 3/4 or our slope to both terms. Y plus 2 is going to be brought down. We get negative 3/4 x. And now we deal with that scenario. We have a fraction times an integer here. So we have negative 3/4 times, you should put negative 8 over 1 because that doesn't change the value of it. We check diagonally to see if we can simplify anything, and I see 4 and 8 are both divisible by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and now we can multiply across here. So numerators, 3 times 2 is going to give us 6. 1 times 1 is going to be 1. And then we had a negative times a negative, which is going to give us a positive result. So this should be a plus 6 here. And now let's go ahead and erase all that. And now isolate y by subtracting 2 on both sides. So cancels, cancels, and we get y equals negative 3/4 x plus 4. If you got that one right, again, very, very nice job. That one was a little bit more challenging. And now down to number 3. So distributing our improper fraction of 4/3. Y plus 5 gets brought down. We have 4/3 x. And now we need to do 4/3 times, hopefully you did 5 over 1. Check diagonally to see if we can simplify anything, and we can't. So we have to multiply across. 4 times 5 is 20 over 3. So we tack on a plus 20/3. We'll get rid of all that work we just did over here. And now let's isolate y by subtracting 5 on both sides. Opposites cancel. We get y equals 4/3 x, and then we have to finish this up by doing 20/3 minus, and again, you can't subtract fractions unless they have a common denominator, so our denominator is going to have to be 3 here. And how can I make this value be 5, again, without changing it? And the only number that works here is 15. So again, denominator stays the exact same. We only subtract the numerator, so 20 minus 15 is going to give us 5. So we're going to end up getting plus 5/3 for our final answer in slope-intercept form for number 3, and then on to the very last one. So let's distribute negative 6. Y minus 7 is brought down. We get negative 6x plus positive 24. We add 7 to both sides. Opposites cancel. And final answer in slope-intercept form, y equals negative 6x plus 31. If you got all of these right, very, very nice job. I hope this video helped you out in converting point slope form to slope intercept form. And if it did, leave a like on the video, comment any other topics you want to see in the future, subscribe, turn on that bell for post notifications, and we'll see you in the next one with some more mathematics.
How do you know